Why are low rent flats often more interesting to buy? Let's discuss that together. You have two rules in real estate if you buy and rent out. Okay? First is buy more or less cheap. And second, you always need a good tenant. So it needs to be a proper location. So many people live there, or at least next to this specific location, to generate income, so you have access to proper tenants. Rule one, buy more or less cheap. Well, often you don't find apartments which are either already rented out pretty high, that are cheap, or you typically don't find apartments to buy where the tenant is not living at that point. So it's already rented, it's occupied, this apartment. So it's difficult to achieve a high rent and a low price during the purchase already. This is difficult. So many people tend to, buying at a high price, but also having a higher rent. But if you have a high price, let's discuss. If you have high price plus high rent, you can't easily increase because of regulation in Germany. That's not that easy, and you need lots of knowledge to do it anyway, if it's possible. So difficult to increase. You have, if you pay a high price already, you have high purchase costs because you might need equity on this high price. You have to pay buying tax, notary fee, and so on this high price. So also something that should be avoided, also from the holistic perspective. So you have high costs. This is the problem, and it's difficult to actually start generating cash flow long term, or just might take longer to generate cash flow, especially after your initial costs. So now we can say we have low price plus low rent. This is significantly better. Why? The rent can be changed afterwards. The price obviously can't be changed afterwards. So it makes sense to invest some time, or at least to have some patience, to let the property become profitable. So now, to increase the rent is pretty easy, because this apartment is under rented, so you could either do it 15 to 20% every 3 years. Or if the tenant is leaving the apartment, then you might just adjust the market rent to the rent to the new market rent. So let's say this apartment is rented out for 500 euros. Oh, let's do it here. Rented out for 500 euros. But now the tenant is leaving the apartment, so you could increase the rent to 1,000 euros. If this is the market rent, obviously. Okay. At that point, the apartment would immediately become profitable. Okay. Because let's say your mortgage is 700 euros in the beginning, the loan. So you have 200 euros out of your own pocket. And now you might say, yeah, but I would like to have cash flow immediately, or it should cover itself, at least in the beginning, or immediately in the beginning. Yeah, with higher interest rates, it's not that easy. Because to achieve that, someone needs to sell really undervalue. And if someone is selling undervalue, let's also discuss that. Third scenario, let's say really low price. Plus, we need high rent. Because otherwise, you are not even here. So let's say, because of the low price, you also have lower costs through the interest. So let's say you have costs of 500 euros. and you have rent of 700 euros. You won't find these apartments typically, but just let's say you find these apartments. So you have plus 200 euros already in the beginning. I would be really suspicious if someone is selling me such an apartment. Because the question is, why is someone selling this apartment when the seller is generating 200 euros every month at least, when the mortgage is finished, let's say 700 euros. Okay, so typically, I would say in 70 to 80% of the cases, if someone is really selling this apartment, you need to solve two problems, or one of two problems. First, you have a difficult tenant which doesn't pay the rent regularly, for example, or calling you every day, or giving you headache for whatever reason. Difficult tenant. So someone says, I don't care, I want to sell this apartment, even if I have profits, even if the mortgage is finished, because I don't want to deal with this tenant anymore. Or any complicated, expensive renovation is due, which might destroy this cash flow here, especially medium term. Okay, so but be really careful because these deals are often not available. Okay, if you don't have really good connections where you don't have any issues here. Okay, so this is the, I would say, typical solution in the first place. You have 200 euros out of your own pocket in the first place. You can easily increase the rent because this here is under rented, because the market rent is significantly higher. And you have low costs in the beginning. So this is also nice. Because if you have low costs, you save more equity capital. If you save more equity capital, you can buy more apartments, so you could create even more leverage. Okay, so the recommendation is for sure to look for apartments with a lower price, to accept currently a lower rent. Then you install a good property management, so they can increase the rent here easily for you. Property management. Costs on average something around 30 euros per month, but also fully tax deductible, so 18 euros net, let's say, or maybe 20 euros, depends on the tax rate. You install the property management, they take care of the increase in the future, they search for a tenant in the future, they adjust the rent for you, and now you see, might take 6 months until you have profits, might take 3, 4, 5 years until you have profits. But it actually doesn't matter. Because let's say you buy something for 200,000 and until the rent is fully covering all the costs, and I'm not just talking about the mortgage, I'm also talking about property management and maintenance included, okay, so fully covered. Let's say you have 200,000. Let's say you have to contribute 200 euros times 12 for 1 year, so 2,400. And you have to do it over 5 years, let's say. So it's 2 plus 10, so I guess 12,000. We will see if that's correct. 12,000 euros out of your own pocket, okay? Over 5 years. If you only need to invest 12,000 euros plus, let's say, we have 20,000 euros initial equity capital, but this is tax deductible. So you receive 42% back, so 8,400. So in the end, you invest 11,600 net. So we have 11,600 plus 12, so we have 23,600 own investment to finish a mortgage of 200,000. This is sick. You only invest 23,600 out of your own pocket to have a mortgage finished for 200,000. And I have to say, 200,000, this increases in value in the future. Plus, and this makes it even better, in the future you will have profits here. Okay? So you won't have minus 200, you might have plus 200. Or let's be more conservative. Let's say you have plus 100. Okay? So now, here are only 5 years over. Let's say you have for 10 years 100 euros profit. So we have 100 euros times 12 times 10. So this is 1,200, so this is 12. Oh. And the mortgage takes longer than 15 years, okay? This was a coincidence that the numbers match actually. So you have, let's do it like this. You have 12,000 euros also profits. Of course, this partially needs to be taxed and so on. But in the end, even if I take 42% away from here, and let's say we just have 7,000 euros or 6,000 euros net, we have 23 minus 6, so 17,000 euros that you pay out of your own pocket, at least in this example, to finish a mortgage of 200,000. But if you have appreciation in the future, it might be 250 or 300,000. And that's the power of real estate. And that's the reason why it doesn't matter if you have 200 euros minus in the beginning, when you know that the market rent is significantly higher, and you just have to wait either until the rent is adjusted to the market or until the tenant is leaving the apartment. That's one of the reasons why you search for small apartments, to have frequent tenant changes. Just a gold nugget here for you. To have frequent tenant changes, and then you start generating big profits out of real estate. And this is the power here, because you don't take a mortgage of 200, you don't have to invest 200,000 euros out of your own pocket. It's more that you just invest something to generate this wealth. And this is a huge leverage effect. And this is one way to improve your financial situation, especially long term. So if you are interested, having support in creating an extensive real estate portfolio, or you would just like to have help buying the first apartment, getting used to being a landlord and knowing what you should consider when becoming the landlord in the first place, feel free to reach out, register for a free initial consultation. This is daily business for us. So if you would like to have help, we will see how we can help you. Okay? So take care, talk to you soon, and maybe we will speak to each other in the next days.